No, I told you I'm tired. No, I'm tired. I had a hard time today with the interview. I explained to you. I couldn't focus. I don't know what the deal was. I put my computer somewhere. The sun was shining in my eyes. I couldn't see my screen. I couldn't see my resume. There was some kid talking really loud in the background to his girlfriend, and I couldn't hear the guy asking me the questions. It's been a hard day. No, and I had some allergy problems. The mold count was high, my head was hurting, and I was all stuffy. It was hard to focus. And plus I was super worried about my friend. Yeah, man, she was stuck in traffic. It's something with I don't know, her like some sort of light came on her car, and I don't know, whatever. She's like calling me like I'm some sort of mechanic or something. I don't know. It's just a bunch of different stuff was going on. I had a hard time focusing. All right? I wish I knew the words for that. If only I was a speech professor, I would know what was going on. I'd be able to explain it to you. Students, this is the lecture for the first unit, and it's basically the communication model and also an overview to our discipline. In the discipline of speech communication, we have a myriad of different ways that we break it down. We have intrapersonal communication, which is internal dialogue, discussions you basically have internally within your own mind about your thoughts and feelings and your relationship to the world. Interpersonal is one-to-one communication. So for an example, a conversation between you and your best friend, or you and your mom and dad, you and your mom, or you and your dad, or, maybe, I don't know, you and your professor. Group or team building is 5 to 7 people in a myriad of different contexts, whether it's problem solving or social groups, athletic groups. Public speaking is the one to the many. So this could be you speaking to a class of 30 people, a crowd of 300, or a crowd of 3,000. Now, our specific discipline does not cover these two, but I like to have them in the slide as a delineation. And so mass communication would be one to the many, like radio, television, film, and then you have social media, which everybody knows what that is nowadays. The next one, let me see here. How do I click through here? Let's see. Click. I haven't done this in so long, y'all. Communication model. I guess it's backwards. I don't know why. The communication model is, let's see, how am I going to, this is odd. Let's see here. Boom. Okay, got it. I'm sorry. It's been so. I'm used to doing this in the classroom, not on my computer. Okay, so a communication model. Now, if you walk into a chemistry class, what will you see on the wall? That's right. You'll see the periodic table of elements. This is our discipline's periodic table of elements. It's the basic building blocks of speech communication. So you have the source, also called the sender and receiver. Source, which is also called the sender or the speaker, the receiver or the listener, the message, the channel, noise, encoding, decoding, context, and feedback. And now I'll go over each one. Whoops, I guess I hit the wrong arrow. That's what happened. So noise is anything that interferes with a message transmitted from sender to receiver. And there are both internal and external elements. So anything that impedes your ability as a listener or the receiver to understand the speaker or the sender of what's going on. Physical noise is basically the sunlight is in your eye. You can't focus because there's a baby cry in the background when you're having a phone interview, that kind of thing. It's external to you, and oftentimes we can't control it. Sometimes we can. So if the room is too warm, or like every once in a while they'll wax the floor, they'll wax the floors, and that can cause other noise for me, but I'll explain. Well, actually, that could also be physiological noise because it gives me a headache. But physical noise is something external. Maybe it's dusty outside when they do a road project or something you can't see. Psychological noise is mental interference. So you're worried about a test, or maybe someone in your family is ill, okay? You're going to have a hard time focusing on what's going on because of that psychological noise. And that's internal, much different than an external factor.
Physiological noise has to do with the body. So your allergies are bothering you, or you got a migraine from eating something funky. And then semantic noise is noise occurs when there's not a shared meaning between the source and the receiver. So if someone utilizes, let's say that you're talking about your ankle, to a group of medical professionals, a doctor who uses medical terminology, they'll find him or her highly credible. But if you're talking to a group of kindergartners, it's going to go right over their head, and that's going to create semantic noise. So one person's semantic noise could be another person's highly credible discussion. The other aspect is if someone uses hate language or something that's very hurtful, and people tend to tune that out. That would also be an example of semantic noise. Context is the situation in which the event is occurring. Physical, so is it occurring at a restaurant or at a funeral, at a party, at a church function? The physicality of that context will make a difference on the words you use, those sorts of things. Social context is based on past relationships. How long have you been a friend of so-and-so? Did y'all grow up in high school together? That sort of thing. And then chronological context is when is it occurring? Are you having this conversation before you lent them the $500 or after you lent them the $500 when they didn't pay you back? Right? They're going to be really nice to you, and then suddenly they ice you out. Has it ever happened to you? You do a favor for someone, they're super sweet, and then once you do it, you just never see them again. That would be an example of chronological context. Cultural context that's like the organizational or ethnic consideration. So, for example, Zappos has a very chill working environment, and allegedly so does Google. Versus like IBM, which is like a suit and tie outfit. And then, of course, ethnic considerations also have impact. It could be a cultural thing like head coverings. It could be a context in terms of eye contact, whether it's acceptable or not. And we'll talk about that in the culture unit. So think of all of these whenever you walk into, and a lot of people say that, I love traveling because it's so different. Well, probably because there's a different cultural context, and you're learning, different ways that people communicate, quite frankly. The next one, let's just do in review. So if you're thinking about an argument you had with your mom this morning, that would be what type of noise? That's right, psychological noise. If you're hungry or your allergies are flared up, or you got a migraine, what type of noise is that? That's right, physiological noise. Now, what if someone uses hate language or they use highfalutin terms you've never heard and they don't offer any definitional explanation? That's right, it would be semantic noise. Now, if the room is too hot or you smell some wax on the floor or there's a telephone going on when you're trying to take care of your schoolwork, that would be an example of external noise. Now, in our discipline, whenever you give a speech or an interview, or even if you're working in a team building environment, ethos is speaker credibility. So that's why it's so imperative whenever we work on these speeches that you cite the credentials of your source, because you are borrowing the ethos of your author for yourself when you deliver your presentation. Emotional appeal is pathos. I remember that by going, oh, that's so pathetic. Can you be so emotional? That was my mnemonic hook. And then logos is logical appeal. That's how you fashion your organizational pattern of your speech with corresponding subpoints. Is it a logical flow of idea? That sort of stuff. And that's all I've got for you for Unit 1. Thank you for listening to my lecture.
No, man. I mean, he was using these big words I didn't understand. I don't know about the human ankle. Yeah, he's like said something, but I did. It's all medical terminology. It's way over my head. I mean, I guess if I was like a doctor, I would understand it, but it wasn't like he gave me any definitional elements or explained it to me. He just threw out the words like I was supposed to understand what he was talking about. Yeah, and then he was kind of sexist. It's like I kind of just tuned him out. If only I was a speech professor, I would be able to explain to my friend what was going on in my head and why I couldn't focus.
Gosh, it's good to talk to you on Facebook, but I don't understand. Back to her. I mean, she looks great in all her new outfits and stuff, but why has she changed the way she dresses? Her music's different, her house looks different, even the kind of car she drives is different. It's like this COVID love affair has got the best of her brain. Although she does look good in those outfits now. If only I was a speech professor, I would understand why she's acting so differently. She's changed her clothes, style, she's changed her music style, and even her house.